the budget? That's on.
I don't think Steve's is either.
There it is. Try this
Top
again.
right. There you go.
Meeting of the Historic Preservation Board, Denison, Texas, will come to order. It's Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Present are members Linda Anderson, Kirk Chakowski, and Steve Riley, and Kirsten Solomon. We have the presence of a quorum. Do we have anyone here that has completed a speak card? Nope. Okay. With that, we will move on to items of individual consideration. Item A, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on approving the minutes from the meeting held on May 16th, 2023. Any discussion?
I move we approve minutes. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Kurt Chakowski, second Steve Riley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item B, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the request to install a sign on the front of the building and sign on the back of the building at 300 West Main.
So this would be the building that we are in, and we have the sign machine, and also a representative from the city here to do that. And so you can see what the lettering will look like both in the daylight and at dark. And also, I think they want some modifications to the lettering on that version of it. But I understand that they want it to cover the holes that were left by Bank of America's sign. And so that makes sense. I don't have the dimensions and the material and also the details. We don't allow backlit signs. So if this is in fact a backlit sign, we would have to do a variance. I apologize, I did not write the variance into the motion that we have to accept a variance, but we can determine intent and come back or whatever we need to do. We could determine that that's not an internally lit sign, and so I'll just let you hear the information, and then we'll discuss it further. So we have Irvin Pereira and with the city, and Ricky Bates with the sign machine, and they can give you the details on that and the size of the sign.
Good morning. Good morning.
How y'all doing? My name's Ricky Bates. I'm with the sign machine.
Do you need
I
address?
have
Could you give your address for the record, please?
103 East Crawford Street,
Thank you.
Denison.
Thank you.
But I've got 4 of these if y'all want them, but these are for the back of the building, and it's to go to the same letter style that matches the front of the buildings.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Not with the script. It's got the script versus the block letter.
Yeah.
If y'all have any questions for me,
I do.
sure.
We have nothing to tell us accurately what the color of the background material will be. And on this, on some renderings, it looks very white.
Right.
On this one, the one you've just handed us, it looks more like a sort of a very, very pale, almost.
Well, it's a printer. I mean, it's just, you're just going to get
I
that
understand,
quality.
I understand. However, what I would wish be a very light color like you are prescribing here. However, that it match the colors, the tone of the marble. And that would mean a very light gray, I think. But I personally would like to know what the background's color's gonna be, because that's a lot of signage.
Right, well, this is basically designed on the standard colors that we get this panels in.
Yes, sir.
So if we paint it, you know, we can paint it, you're not gonna get the exact color of the marble because the marble's got, of course, the marbly look in it. You know, you can match the grays in it, the darker colors, or you can match the lighter colors in it. Like I said, this is just superimposing off a printer, so you're gonna get that look. But the material I've got is just a solid white material. You know, it comes in probably 10 different colors, but to do the whole scale of colors, just like, you know, you have a lot of colors. Well, PMS colors versus sign colors are really not the same, because we use different materials like vinyls and these sheets like this that come in a baked enamel standard color that are ready to put up, that will last, that are guaranteed. If we paint it, then we lose our guarantees as far as the color, because I tell you, from building signs for 30 years, you put a sign out there for 5 or 6 years, in this Texas weather, it's gonna fade. I don't care what color it is. If it's red, it's gonna turn pink. If it's blue, it's gonna turn a baby blue over years.
And you said there are like 10 colors of background material in this palette?
Right, that we
Which
can
is
use.
white.
Anything else, we have to custom paint.
Yes.
And there are,
So there's nothing else in the color palette that's not sort of a primary color?
no, you have to, no.
How large is this sign?
Well, see the panels on the, we never really have settled on a size because I'm just talking big and fact for.
Inches and feet.
But if you see the panels on the, below the sign, the marble panels, those are 6 by 4. So if you go across that sign is probably a good 16 foot wide by probably a good 6, 7 foot tall.
And does it just cover up the holes that are on the marble right now?
Well, they tried to, it is the hose, but they tried to patch that marble and with some epoxy, and it worked for about a month. Then the Texas weather and the heat got a hold of it, and the epoxy turned yellow. So when you look on both these walls, there's big splotches of yellow because all the banks that, you know, Bank of America, InterFirst, all them banks had their signs in them locations. And then as they moved banks, they pulled them down. It looks like a woodpecker got a hold of the wall. So,
And you'll be able to anchor it so it's sturdy?
well, yeah, that's why we're doing it like this. We're not gonna try to go back and, because if you go by and try to cover, you know, the holes in just the letters, you're not gonna do it.
Exactly.
It's gonna look bad. That's why we had to build the box behind it and then put the letters on the box. The box itself is probably not gonna be 2 to 3 inches wide. You know, it's just a way to carry all our wires. We'll have all our wires in it that will light it up, and then we'll put the power supply on the back side of the wall. You have, you know, power supplies goes out, you know, very seldom. LEDs hardly ever go out. So if they have to service it, they can get behind the wall and service it instead of trying to get a bucket truck up here and take off letters and try to service it like that.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Is the size dictated by where the holes are located on the facade?
Yes, ma'am.
In other words, do we have to have those extremities on the 4 corners?
That covers
Because that's
up.
where the holes are, right? It's going to be lit from behind with LED.
Right, the letters over here, now not the square, but just the letters. See the letters over there on the
Okay.
right?
All right. We would, I assume, be going for a warmer lighting in the LED options, correct? Not that
You
stark
have,
white.
you have a 3,000, you have a 5,000, you have a daylight, which is a 6,500, and you have a 7,500. These are probably 5,000, But when you put them side by side, like if you go into a grocery store or something and you look and you see all the different color bulbs, that's the Kelvin, that's the color of the bulbs, you know. A real yellow, which is a soothing color for motels or hospitals or whatever in the rooms, is gonna be a 3,000 to 3,500. When you go do a sign out there, usually on signs like this, we use a 6,500 white. It's called daylight white, and it's white. You know, I mean, we can go, well, a good point is, I just got through doing the K Depot, the letters up on it. Those are a 3,500 Kelvin, because they wanted something that old school, you know, that looked yellow, and that's what they looked like 40, 50 years ago or before. You know, they didn't have the bright white like LEDs. So they wanted that one more of a nostalgia look, and that's why we put the 3,500 bulbs in it. And we can do the same for this. We can make it a cooler white. That answers your question.
Speaking of lighting, and now I'm looking at Donna and our consultant, if the standards talk about externally lit or illuminated, is this with the LED lights behind the letters, is that considered externally or is that now internal? And if it is, do we need to change the standards if this is going to be our city hall and a prime piece of our historic district?
I'll tell you the intent of that was we don't want any plastic backlit signs. So if you see, like you might have, say at Subway or Whataburger, they have those, and I don't know if it's
Channel
plastic,
letters.
but they're a sign, and they've got sign faces on both sides.
Oh, you're talking about the pole sign.
Yeah. And then they've got lights on the inside that shine out, so you can always see them. In the early day, they had some of those, and they are not appropriate for these buildings. So it was to keep those plastic faces with internally lit signs. The intent did not consider these because these were not a thing. And so if it is in fact considered internally lit, then we can do that. We just need to say we approve a variance to do that. But do you know, Irvin, why this was selected, this type of lighting?
Yeah, I think, you know, the type of lighting was, I mean, because it's aesthetically pleasing, I think, in our opinion. So we went with the back, we kind of call it the halo effect, because it's not like a traditional backlight where you have, like Donna was saying, a plastic lens covering a backlit, or a light shining against the plastic lens to illuminate it. It's more just the inside to highlight the letters so you can see it at night. The only other option that I could think of that might fit with what y'all have is, as far as the standard, would be two lights shining at the sign, which might be a little distracting, I think, because we probably need to come from either below and shoot up at the sign with two fixtures that you'll be able to see, you know, mounted to the wall, or two above it shining down, in which case you look up, you're going to see bright lights shooting back at you. So I think this, for anybody looking at it, would probably be the best option, in our opinion. And the sizing was intended to cover those holes, because we've had multiple contractors out to try to look at how we can fix that to get it to blend, and nobody's been successful trying it, and nobody really wants to get into that wall to do anything else. So unless you all know somebody who could patch that wall and make it look like the original marble, we're kind of at a loss at that. So we thought, hey, this is an option, a good option to cover those holes, get rid of that blemish on the surface, and then provide an aesthetically pleasing sign for everybody to look at. As far as Kelvin value for the temperature of the light, I'd recommend going with something that matches the street lights that are along Main Street, whatever Kelvin that is, so that you're not seeing two different types of light. That would be my suggestion.
I guess my thought was, does this need to go back to P and Z?
Well, I also have a question, which has to do with Were other options considered? Other
Yeah,
kinds of signage?
we did look at just doing like the letters against the marble, but
Yes?
again, the blemishes in the marble were, still very
Apparent, yeah.
in those renderings, so we thought, hey, this, this would be the better option. I mean, I think if we could mount something like that on a beautiful new piece of marble, it would look the best. So this was kind of a little give and take to get that blemish covered up.
So the background plastic will be mounted flush with the wall itself, the building wall, correct?
No.
And then the letters are away from that? No?
No.
Okay,
The
sorry.
background is not plastic.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the background's an aluminum, it's called an ACM panel. It's got a 3 millimeter and and it stands off about 2 inches off the wall. We'll build a frame and that lets all our wiring travel
Oh,
behind.
right. I'm sorry, I remember you talking about the wiring now.
And then the letters, they're built, we build each individual letter and the LEDs will be facing the front of the letter, but it'll be a black material, so it just reflects back to the wall. And it gives it that look there. And that's almost exactly what it looks like.
Will it be kind of a laser cut that stands out from the back of the sign?
Oh, yeah, there'll be raised letters, yeah. I'll build the whole framework, the 7 by 16, I'll build it. Then I'll build the letters separate, and then we'll mount them on top. And they'll be mounted about 1 inch off of that background. That way, when they come
That's the
out,
question I
that's
was
what gives you
asking.
the halo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As a new guy, I can get there. When I look at the standards, it talked about each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. And I look at this building as opposed to, let's say, the other older historical buildings, some of which we'll look at there today. And while I would like to keep the lighting as a standard that we have, I can see a variance for this style and this historical era for this building. My only concern is that means for the 2 big city buildings that have come here before us, this one and the Katy Depot, we've given variances to. And if I'm a shop owner someplace else, I go, hey, where's my variance? And that's my only concern. So how many people, for the new guy, come for variances for lighting?
I guess I would think that because of the uniqueness of the building exterior, that's the only way I can get to where
Exactly.
you're at. That's the only way, because I have a problem with all of it until I think about that exterior.
I'm with you.
So I got 2 things that I want to answer. It doesn't go to planning and zoning because they don't regulate this part of it, just us.
It doesn't need a permit, you're saying?
It will need a permit for a sign, but you just get that from the permit office upstairs in the building.
Doesn't need to go to planning or zoning at all.
No, but planning and zoning, it doesn't. So I think that it's possible, if you get really technical, that we wouldn't have to grant a variance for it. But then you're going to see signs like that
Exactly.
all along. I don't know. We just need to decide as a board if we're comfortable seeing those signs like that. And I'm not saying that it's not appropriate, but we need to decide if that's okay with us. So internally lit, it's not all internally lit.
But I like, and I understand, and I greatly appreciate that the city has looked at this. And I agree that I wouldn't want to be looking up at this thing that is representing our city and having to go like this because the lights that are shining down on it are in my eyes. And I think it looks much more professional than 2 lights shining back up to externally illuminated. So I think it's a class. I think it's very professional. And as long as I've got something that for next month, next year,
Right.
someone says, hey, I'd like to be able to do this lighting, and we decide, no, it's not a historic appropriate for this thing, I can hang my hat on that. And if we're okay, I can make that decision. easy.
Right. And I seem to remember a sign that came before us that was like this, but I can't pull out where it was. And maybe it was just a proposed that we didn't. I wonder if the guy on Woodard that has the Moxie graphics, I can't remember what we approved for him. He's not executed that sign yet, so, but anyway, I was looking for precedents.
It wasn't the CBD oil place,
No.
was it?
No, he was doing the historical thing for that, which was a internally lit.
Yeah.
And there was a different kind of signage over there on the WIC building as well. But that was, I don't think that required a variance because. the building
It
was
did
not-
well,
it did.
oh, you mean, what, did you do that sign over there? Not the
It's one that
digital,
actually morphs, I
but the
think.
other one
Yeah.
at,
Oh, at the.
County,
behind
the
the-
health
No, no, didn't do the signs.
okay.
But that was another kind of signage.
That
was
might be the one
different.
I'm thinking of.
Those are just, they're called Gemini, plastic letters. They're just a bold injected letter is what WIC has up there. Yeah, it's not an illuminated letter, it's about this thick, and it just fits against the wall, but it's just a mold injected plastic letter and a logo.
Well, to me, it kind of comes down to, do we need a variance or not?
Correct.
If we say this is a historic time, place, and era for this building. That is opening the box a little bit.
But this building is, how old is this building?
Yeah, exactly. It replaced the old one
Yes.
that used to be here in this corner, yeah.
You know, if we are okay with this type sign all over the district, we could modify our sign ordinance that specifies it is okay, or we could leave it like it is, and
I would rather leave it like it is.
we had that conversation
Yes, we
quite a
did.
bit.
Yes, we did.
Could the motion be worded such as, just to include the language about the appropriate, because of the words that you were using from the code, so to speak? Could that be incorporated in the motion?
Well, you can incorporate anything in the motion. You get a second to vote.
Would you?
Sure.
So we make a motion to approve the sign for 300 Main Street as fits the exterior of this building?
Appropriate for the.
It's appropriate for the physical record of this time, place, and use for this building.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, any more discussion?
Oh, we have, I thought that we had.
I'm trying to get the verbiage rights
Okay.
for her.
A physical record of its time, place, and use at this era.
And given that, it wouldn't require any kind of a variance. And there would be some kind of documentation, should someone say they
Yeah,
want to
for
do
the
the
record.
same thing.
For the record.
All right.
Sir, do you have anything else?
No, I don't know. If y'all have any more questions for me,
Anything from the city?
No, sir, if you don't have any questions for us, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. What kind of time frame?
right now, we're probably 8 to 10 weeks.
Summertime.
It took me 8 weeks to the week to do the Katy Depot sign.
Yeah, that went up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I do think we need a specific size to put on the certificate of appropriateness.
That looks like about 8 by 16 to me. If I was-
Yeah, I'll go
Those are
back and do
8 by
your
4.
sizes and everything.
If we make the motion to say not to exceed 8 by 16, or do we need to wait till you have any?
That would, if you done that, that would be more than enough.
Do we need to make a preference for the lighting? Wattage as well on that, or?
I would just say it's a lighting appropriate to those words.
Okay.
Let's see if we got this right. It says, I make a motion to approve the new signage at 300 Main Street for both the front and back of the building as a record for this building for the time, place, and use, but the sign is not to exceed dimensions of 8 feet by 16 feet. that good?
How's
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's plenty.
And just not say anything about lighting? Just assume it's included.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. As long as our historic preservation officer thinks that'll cover for the future.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll make the motions that I just read.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve Riley, seconded by Kirk Jakowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good?
I hope I made sense.
Okay, item C, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the request to install a new utility systems and full facade makeover at 427 West Main.
So I have an apology to make on this. The summary is for another case, and so we need to just exclude that summary section of it. The background information and analysis is correct. And also, the utility systems is not in this board's purview, so that should have been excluded as well in the agenda item. So, let's see. This is photographs of the front and back of the building as it is today. And as you'll notice, there's a door on the left, 1/3 roughly of the building, and it's got a door both to the upstairs and to the interior of the store. And I took some close-ups that, yeah, right there, that you can see the insets there. And that shows pretty well the panels that's referred to. And if you want to, this is a model that you can show of the new storefront.
I like the light. Contrails.
So I'll let them to describe the functionality of the building, but I think they want to use the rooftop and the staircase and all that is accommodated. Let's see, are there any other pictures? Oh, it shows some historic pictures. It's hard to tell. This one, you can see, it's the other side of the awning, the one in the center of the picture. You can see the center storefront. So it was historic. So you would want to see that before you approve them going back to it, but just because it once was doesn't mean that that's the most appropriate treatment for the building over the years. And I don't know, like I don't have a good gauge on who determines that, who says this is the most appropriate treatment for it. But this is to help put in perspective some of the needs they have for the entrances and the exit. And so you can go to the next one. These are the colors that they've chosen for the paint on the outside. And is that all? Okay, that's all. I think it would probably be good. You can see the consultant's questions. it really looks like even the windows upstairs are getting modified, and you don't want a totally modified building because that means that it would no longer be contributing to the district. So I'll let them speak, and you can ask any questions that you have. And the owner and the contractor is here. Introduce yourself and address, please.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, board. Thank you, staff. It's my pleasure. I'm Kevin Hempkins, 3850 South Fannin. It's my pleasure to introduce Megan to all of you guys that don't know her.
Yes, hi, I'm Megan Furman, and we are the building owners.
So, modified might not be the right word for the upstairs. I think we would just be updating, leaving the same, the existing openings, just putting a more updated glass
Mr.
in there.
Hankins, just a moment. Could we get your address for the record, please, Megan?
Yes, my address is 1200 Rowley Mile, Fairview, Texas, 75069.
Thank you.
We just moved, so sorry
Thank
for
you.
the.
Sorry.
No, and so just while we're here looking at the facade, we'll address the transom windows. We don't even know what's back there because of the treatment that's there now, and so it's our intention just to make a cohesive look, top and bottom. And so, and the center entrance for our application for this project would only require one front door, so that would be why this is the way it is.
So is that because you would turn it all into commercial?
One tenant, it's a one tenant
Okay.
use for
Yep.
all levels, so,
Currently,
Is there just one staircase?
I'm sorry.
Is there just one staircase up to, if you're on the second floor, you have to go through the building to get out?
Yes. So there's not been any updates to it since it was the Tortorici Gallery, and so there's
There's a
the
single
exterior one.
staircase.
No,
from
the
the outside
exterior
going
one
up.
does not go to the ground. It
Right.
just goes to the roof.
Yep.
So
yeah, there's the one interior staircase that goes to the second story, and then the back one goes from the second story to the third, to the roof.
So that's, I'm sorry, I believe we have, so it's hard to, you don't really get a clear indication here, but this staircase in the new plans actually does go to the ground floor. There's not a cross section, so it's kind of blocked off. Well, it's totally blocked off by,
You might show them the picture.
so.
I can take it.
Yeah, so in an ideal world, you would just have a cross section of this staircase behind this wall going back down to the ground level. It's just, our architect is limited on this.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, is because for that high of occupancy, they would probably want a back
It
exterior.
would be an exterior exit,
Okay.
but there will be
Then-
two
it
ways
goes
up and
to
down.
the-
Okay,
That's right.
that's all I needed to hear.
And
I
I
have
would
a
just
question.
assume, I don't know that for a fact, but I would.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I certainly have no issue with the ground floor appearance. I think that would be an improvement over what exists now. I, however, can see no justification for changing anything above that.
Well, nothing's really changing other than the paint, and the condition of the windows lacks a lot to be desired. If you've been up close and personal with these original windows, some can be saved and some can't. I'm not going to tell you that I'm scrapping them day one. Ideally, we could save them and and just put low E glass in it to be more efficient. But I've not taken a crowbar to anything in there. I've not even looked behind the 10 facade wall now. So there's things that are gonna reveal themselves as we go, but, the idea is it looks just like it does now, just with upgraded, materials.
And you're talking from
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, and so I think in the picture, it kind of shows a more squared off
Yes.
top. And there would be no issue with keeping the arch, if that's the
But that's what
concern.
I'm.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned about are the details on the front of the building.
The
And-
cornices, the,
Yes, yes,
And those,
They'll just be
to my
repainted.
mind,
Just- yeah.
must be maintained.
yes.
And so that's that's the question I'm asking. The rectilinear
Those colors,
replacement
Donna.
windows don't work for me.
Those
Yes.
colors Donna showed you would be the only thing that would be different with the cornice and the masonry details.
Yeah,
Can we-
nope, we love all that.
Can we go back
And
to
just,
I'm
the
sorry.
main issue with the windows, kind of like Kevin was saying, is if you were to look at them closely, they're almost in disrepair. They need to be replaced, most likely.
the lower window?
The top.
The top,
Mhm.
okay. I did
And the
notice-
shape can stay the exact same, that's fine.
I did notice some of the wood around them.
I don't think our desire is that you replace them with exactly the same sort of material, but rather that you maintain the architectural features on the facade of the
the
building.
That's
Yeah,
our
individual.
priority with the facade. That's our priority.
Yep,
Perfect. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Hankin.
Okay, so this is what I'm looking at, and I understand that this is just maybe a suggestion or
Yes, ma'am.
this one, but I'm seeing all the upper just gone, or
Well,
is it your intention
we-
to change, like do the two-tone color like that, or just, because I'm not seeing any of the detail in that upper portion.
It's still gonna be like
we
this,
tried,
just
yeah,
different
we
color, right?
we tried to, but it came out fuzzy whenever he got
Okay.
that close,
Okay.
that dialed in with the, pattern. So we
Okay.
just chose to, the intention is, the light colors that are existing now stay the light colors. Can we go back to the color palette, the two colors? So in effect, you got dark and light like you have now. And so it's, in that regard, we're gonna be looking at the same thing as far as contrast.
Contrast.
And so it was hard for that to be, done in the rendering just because of the pixels and whatnot. He couldn't quite get it right.
Okay, so in other words, that whole top section right there will be two-tone.
That's right.
Still be able to see the details and everything.
That's right.
Is the light going to be the lighter color?
The intention was to have the dark green where the gray is currently,
Okay.
and the gray color to be where the darker.
So kind of a reverse.
Reverse.
Of what it is.
Right.
What else? On the transom area, can you not see from the inside anything?
No, it's covered up also.
Is it like floor, like the next
Oh,
level,
no, it's
or
just.
It's just covered from the front?
Right. It's gonna be something beautiful, and it'll be, unlikely to be able to get it back to how it needs to be, but depending on what's back there, I think it's gonna, what we have in mind is gonna look identical to it, or really, really close.
So you would be
I've seen several, yeah, from here,
from there to,
yeah, would be the divided glass.
and you would kind of use this same area for the transoms?
Yeah, you have to in these because that's where the beam goes across.
Where is that beam? Is that,
It's the same as all of them, at
Yeah,
like
right atop of the
12 foot
post.
9.
where's the stained wood? Where's that going to be?
The
In your-
stain-
I saw that question on there. We didn't have any stained wood on there. That's probably just coming from that rendering where the exact details on the top are not very clear. And so, there won't be any
There's
wood
no
on there.
stain.
That was
No.
what I thought, maybe that in this, it doesn't look like it, but the consultant saw in that rendering, the one
Oh, you know what it was? On the rooftop, there was just like, I think he had done some sort of railing that had the stained wood top or something like that. But it was back away from the front. It wasn't anything on the
Okay.
facade. I think with the way those renderings worked, it was hard to kind of tell how deep the certain things were.
So there's a fence that you can see over here now, and you wouldn't be adding wood to the front top of it.
Yeah,
No.
you see it up here a
It
little
would
better
be,
on the
If,
right
if
side.
you'll go back to the, at this current time, it had fallen in a windstorm this past fall.
Oh, yeah, I remember calling you when.
yes.
But if you'll go back to the Tortorici facade repairs, please. Right there, same deal, except you would, I don't think it's quite to the height regulations that it's supposed to be. So,
I'm
Would
sure
be-
Betty and them will tell you
Yeah.
what height it's gotta be.
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll be replacing that, but we don't have that picked out quite yet.
yeah.
So you probably would want to address what that looks like. And how that is. I mean, I would think
Well, we
you would
can make
want-
it look just like that, or I would prefer not, I would prefer to have a little bit better of a cohesion with the surrounding elements than that expanded metal, but I think we can work together to come up with a solution for that. So, I don't know if it shows it on here.
Are there repairs that need to be made to the side of that?
I'm
upper?
sorry,
Are there repairs that need to be made to the upper side of that, the west side,
like the tall side?
Mhm.
No, it would just be painted.
just painted?
Are you talking about the rail or the building?
Well, no,
Sorry.
I'm talking about the side of the building.
Oh, yeah,
The
that would,
upper, where it's had their graphics there at one time.
yeah, that would just be painted, like the rest of the building.
There was, the piece that came apart, so that's not even a welded section. It was just there's a section going north and south and one going east and west. And I think they were bolted together and the bolts had rusted and fallen over. So it wasn't the greatest, way to attach that. So when it fell, it didn't leave much damage
Yeah.
over there. The roof would be a full replacement. But other than that, the shell of the building is in excellent condition. Again, we haven't got behind the metal there to find out, but there's only a few things that could go wrong behind there, but not a big deal though.
Be careful,
Just
be careful.
And they may all be.
Yeah. So, but as far as the masonry and structurally, the thing's intact and really, really square, better than several I've got a hold of down here.
I personally am glad to see that, I don't even know what you call that, that's on there now that's covering the transom windows in the bottom, that fake,
It's almost like tin or
whatever that is.
Yeah.
So bad.
I call it mobile home skirting. Donna's not fond of that term, but that's what I always see
What do you
around
call it?
mobile home skirting.
Mobile,
I
yeah.
think that's what you see under all the trailer houses out in the country.
I told him maybe he should use that term in here.
So
Yeah.
that's the first thing that's going to come. Day one, that's coming off, and it's going to look better immediately.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And, in this day and age, you got to get on top of window and door type deals, and so that's going to be addressed immediately because of the lag time to get those. And so what you're going to see is some changes immediately, but improvement immediately also.
But there will no longer be a front egress. We're taking that away.
It would be moving over, so.
But I mean, the front egress to the second floor, that will be gone.
It would
Right?
be-
Just have one door and you'll get upstairs from the inside.
Correct,
Okay.
yep, that would just basically be moved interior.
Okay.
So I wonder from the building department if they're going to require because,
That's why I asked at
Yeah.
the very beginning.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I'm just thinking it through, but when you put a certain occupancy load in it, then they require two, and for lofts, you know, if you have more than, or three or more, then you've gotta have two, one in the front, one in the back, and I bet that they would in there's one at 200 West Main came before us, and they couldn't, it was complicated because they wanted to have occupancy, you know, like
Okay.
a event occupancy up there.
Well, we haven't dove that far into the usage with the city. Obviously, this is our first step with you guys. But however, we have to accommodate
We
that.
can ask Betty just to make sure, you know, if whatever they approve, we can ask Betty to make sure what it's going to be required from a fire code.
And we'll be accommodating to modify our plan to do that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult to add stairs to the back.
This would most likely be a double door also. I know it's in the rear. I know it just indicates a single door, but that's where that overhead door was. And that, as a kitchen space, we after this was drawn, had thought the double door would be more appropriate.
In the
I
back,
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
It would,
Just to get stuff in, yeah.
yeah, it would give you more flexibility too for.
So maybe that'll help us achieve our what we want to do here.
What's your timeline to get started?
We're ready to get started.
Okay.
We're.
Well, that's good to hear,
If we give if we get our blessing from you guys today, then I'll be ordering a dumpster tomorrow, and we'll get dug in. There's no issue on my bandwidth or funding or anything of that nature. So.
And I'm asking so they can make their decision, because if there's any things that, let's say the railing at the top, maybe you have to come back because they don't know, it's unknown right now.
I would be fine. I mean, if we need to come back to address the railing only, then really that's not something we would be tackling immediately anyway.
So what is your
The
first things you
The
would
ground
do?
floor, if anybody's poked their head in the window, you've noticed,
You need a floor.
yeah, so
It is
we
just the
gotta,
dirt.
we gotta focus on the first 12 feet of
Foundation
the
and
place, for now. And so the facade and this whole first floor, you know, in my opinion, I think, maybe 3 months before you even have from today, probably 3 months before this has got a solid floor with plumbing out of it and ready to do some framing on it. But then after that, as you know, things go really fast.
So we've got the railing that we'd be considering, like what we don't know is what material that will be yet, that would go with
Well,
the city. And then the second thing on approving this would be the variable on that egress, what the city would require there according to building code. So,
I would think if you are interested in the center doors, that you could approve that, of course, all, pending building department and egress.
Yeah.
And then if we have to come back,
Then come back, yes.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. With the exception of the railing, which I think
the
needs to come
relevant
back.
staircases are-
Everything else we could say as depicted,
So I would,
pending any changes from city permitting or P&Z.
I would think we would need a little bit more, information on the openings, like the doors. I think we need to see what the doors will look like.
The front rendering. So, there would be an easy solution to that would just to obviously be to add one over a small 3-foot door, like the Solomons did, very tasteful. but matching that, matching the same window pattern and,
The
and
transom
bottom
railing.
panel. Yes, ma'am.
Because
So-
adding that door, that egress, does change things. It changes your window design, both on the ground level and that transom over the door.
So,
But it would still be opened up from the inside, correct?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And that may be okay.
I would think, so, and also to, we have a single door here. If it makes, if we could have a double door, just like you have right here, maybe that would be,
I mean, I think that was pretty common back then.
so anyway, if they just have their heels dug in on needing two doors in the front, we'll do it to look as close to that as we can.
Your plans call for
And-
you get 3 doors, or 27-inch doors.
I'm sorry?
I said the plans call for 27-inch doors, 2 of them. It's 5, 6.
So this doesn't show up at your plans on that.
Oh, he has a single opening on it. Yeah, that's kind of a squirrely deal. That's actually, that should be shown as a double door. So the plans in facade doesn't match perfectly.
On the front?
So does that count? If I have a double door in front?
Well, he's got a single door here, they were talking about double doors.
And a double door in back?
They're both.
Would it count for?
Oh, they're both,
Egress.
he's got the width indicated, but only has a single swing. It should be like this.
Essentially the same.
Exactly. It's the same spot. If the fire's there, it's gonna be there.
And just like you said.
Small typo there. My apologies.
Different kettle of fish as far as the design.
So
normally
what do we
you,
have
like,
for
you select
motion?
your- you give us a
So
picture
then
of
get
it,
started.
And we approve what that's gonna look like. Like if it's gonna, if you're
Paint
gonna
it.
reuse the doors that were in there, you could say, okay, we're gonna reuse this. Or if you're gonna pick any other doors, then we have a picture of it.
It has to be separated. So in essence, you
Well, maybe we could, move forward, and table the doors, the door and railing, the front access.
For us,
Yeah, I mean, they're
Just the
approving,
picture.
I'm not, but I'm
Okay.
just thinking details that matter.
Mhm.
And it would be appropriate for us to know what those doors look like. I think they could approve it saying, okay, we agree with this, but we want the detailed pictures and you could progress.
Well, the half, so just to be frank, the half glass door is what we have now, and that's kind of the look that we're going for. And,
So,
we-
so from, say, here up instead of like knee,
that's right.
knee up.
And so, we'd like to use the front door like everything there, but we'll need to see what kind of condition it turns out to be in. So,
Yeah, we're just sitting here struggling a little bit about how to make the motion.
Right, and
I wrote the last one, so.
I gave the words.
I think there were some more questions too that I would like to get in.
I'm not comfortable with the, it seems to me we've gotten to the point where the paint colors could be approved with no
Yeah.
question. We know, just as a matter of discussion, that we all agree on what will be retained on the facade. We don't know what's behind the transom window. All of that can be proceeded with, in my mind. However, the issue of what the first floor front facade will look like could in fact be very different from what we're looking at now. And if obviously there would be, I would think, some design to maintain symmetry with the upstairs. So it's different. And that part of it, to my mind, there's no permission to proceed with, except for removing what's over the transom window.
Understood.
Okay.
I feel like with a 24-foot building, your options are kind of limited. And for the sake of symmetry, I think what you're looking at now, but two of them together would be the solution to any issue with the building department.
And I've been thinking this through, and I don't know that it's the case. I just can only speak for residential on the second floor. I know that residential on the second floor obviously has to have the fireproof sheetrock. I mean, it has to be a separate. So you'd have to have that egress. But is the egress to the second floor necessary if it's a business? And if that's a business on the second floor, that may not be, so.
And they're doing it for one tenant too.
It's
Right.
the same as this one, just like this building. You know how you come in 2 doors and you go up the stairs?
Yeah.
What I'm describing would be the identical situation that you have right out
Right.
front.
But you
So-
still have a back egress somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm struggling with. Where's your back egress?
Oh, yeah, that's what we don't have a rooftop plan,
Yeah.
so to speak, and the rendering didn't really get back there, but there's it would simply be a 90-degree turn with the staircase. And so if you'll go back to the rear of the building now, see the little gates where the gas meter is?
On the center picture.
Yeah, center picture right there, yeah. And so that's the rear egress from the roof.
Okay.
And there's no indication of the stair continuing on that 90-degree drop, so.
So, if you're interested in allowing them to have a center entry and say 2 doors, then
Just make that a motion.
I think you could, but you may want to see more design details before you allow them fully to proceed. I don't know what you're comfortable with, but I think you could at least extend to them that you are or you are not comfortable with the center.
I think we could approve this with that, and then when they go, to get their, their building code, if they see that they have to have the egress at that time, then they can do it. I just know that if that were ever to be made residential on that second floor,
Right.
then they have to come back and do something totally different. So
Right.
I'm ignorant of what the code is for having a second-story
And we,
business opposed to
Right.
residential.
and we certainly don't want them changing the
Right.
exterior of the building
When they
yet again.
don't have to.
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
they come back, and so
Yeah.
we just want to think through it. But I would recommend that you can approve it, but I would recommend we see the doors that they're planning to use. If they want to
agree.
try to
Yeah.
use the existing doors, they can submit that, and then they can come back if
Mhm.
they change that. I don't think it's got to be a big thing. I think it's just minor details.
agree.
But I wanted to ask about the paint. So you see on the right side, that wall on the upstairs, that will be.
That's just really peely paint. It looks
Yeah.
awful, like there could be masonry damage, but just very minor. Masonry patches, but it's really just really old, bad paint.
So you plan to repaint it then? Okay, so one of the questions the consultant asked was about paint removal. And a lot of times, paint removal harms the building more than, if you're just trying to remove it or paint over it.
Clean it,
And so
repaint it, yeah.
do you know what you're dealing with there?
As gentle as possible is what I can tell you. I mean, you don't really know until right then and there,
Right.
but the most gentle process possible to make it a repaintable surface. And so there will be no strippers or sandblasting, I can tell you that.
Those are bad words.
Yeah, but,
It'd just be removing peeling paint and,
yeah,
damage paint, that
worst
type of
case scenario
Cleaning the
is,
surface.
yes.
worst case scenario, it's being pressure washed with just water. Best case, it's coming off by hand with scrapers.
That's a lot of
Appreciate the
spray.
prep, because we've seen buildings down here that don't prep. And a week after it's painted, the new
It's peeling
paint is
off.
peeling off. So,
Yeah, it doesn't, if you prep it right, I think it doesn't matter how,
Yeah.
of what kind of effort you put towards the paint, because it'll all look good.
okay.
And I wasn't sure about the panes, the number of panes on the front.
And the
I-
windows?
Yeah, I didn't, thank you, I didn't get to that level of detail in my thought process.
I assume you're talking about the second floor?
No, well, that too, but it looks like in earlier pictures, there, you know, it was 1/1.
Mhm.
It looks like it's, the side windows are single glass right now, so typically what we do there is just, you know, you need to not go any farther away from the standard than you would. But I was talking about the bottom.
Is it this picture?
All of the window openings will maintain the same dimensions that they are now. We won't be changing any openings.
Any of the glass
We're talking about
surfaces?
this,
No.
or,
There's like 24 panes on the transom.
Yeah, like on this picture that they're looking at, it's a historic picture that they submitted with a trolley in the middle of the street. Okay, so if you see the green awning on the left that's jutting out over the transoms are large, like about this big, with a single pane inside them. The picture that they showed had some,
Grids?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that? Mutants, muttons?
sections, yeah.
What's the proper name?
It's a
for
good
the
description.
Muttons, mutants?
I think on
We
the
don't know
next
what's
slide, it
back
had
there now,
that
though.
zoomed in.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
mean, it
say,
could just be
Yeah,
open
it
like
might,
we
it might
have.
be a single pane already.
yeah.
If you'll know, most of the ones that I've been involved in, I don't know if you guys can see the one, the Esler Paint Building, but
Yeah.
it's, most of them are the divided, and that's just kind of where we defaulted. Just,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you see most of, going back to the original.
Do y'all care either way? Can you look at the picture, the proposed, I guess the Zoom model, but,
The computer rendering.
yeah, that one. Do y'all care on the lower facade?
If we need to do one without the dividers, then that's fine.
I would prefer to ask the consultant on that, but it's just a minor detail, so.
I think to us, the one is kind of a more like modern look, and having the sections kind of gives it the more
Historic.
historic look.
Yes.
That's what we're going for. And I
Yes.
appreciate your desire to maintain a historic look.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband grew up in this area and he's always loved that building, and so we very much care about keeping it how it should be, so.
Again, I don't know how to make this motion. Move to approve the paint and the initial overview pending
Pending the door?
the door and the railing.
Yes.
Does that cover?
And whenever I see you guys again for the door and railing, I'll give you some examples of each.
And by then
I-
we'll also know what's behind
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
The trailer,
the trailer, right?
Should you
The
good
lovely
with-
pressed metal.
I'm sorry,
Is Ms. Sullivan good?
are you good with the
I'm good with
transom?
that.
Are you good with the way he said it?
Yes.
Can you, say it again? No, we were just.
I did not,
Discussion.
not yet.
Now he's going.
This is discussion. I think I'm happy. Did we want to break out the transom windows at all? Or I think I'm happy,
I'm good.
I'm
unless you
good.
want to see
I'm
them.
good with the windows, yeah.
All right,
Can you
anything else?
restate your motion?
Okay. And I make a motion to approve the painting of 427 West Main and the overall concept pending a return visit on the railings and on the front door.
Second?
And second egress, all three parts.
A second motion.
All right. We have a motion by Kurt Chakowski and second by Steve Riley.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys very much.
Good luck. We
you.
look forward to
It's
it.
gonna be beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now an easy one.
Thank y'all. Okay, item D. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the installation of vinyl window graphics on 214 West Main.
And the reason I brought this to you, I was just timing, it just came through right before, and so I put it on the agenda, but they've already added the sign. They're going to add the graphics on the right side at the top and the bottom of the window, as shown in the one on the left.
Any questions or discussion on that?
I make a motion to approve the application.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Steve Riley, a second by Kurt Chakowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second? Kurt Chakowski. Next item, E, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the metal and glass door installed at the back of 306 West Main.
So, this was done before the fact, and I think it's something that we've discussed in our new standards, how we can prevent this, and I hope we've stated that in there. You may help me make sure. We've made so many modifications to both the ordinance and the design guidelines that my head's swimming. And I want to, I had notes on what to make, but I want to make sure these are included. If there's a case like this, they can always call me and let me know they've got to make the decision over the weekend and get a kind of temporary approval. But in this case, they had known that the door was an issue, and then it became an emergency repair, and so they made it. And this is what they used. And so I've had this, it's dated March 1st, but I've had it since April 27th, I believe, the application. And so we just want to consider that.
For the board's information, what we talked about just last week about both the design guide and the ordinance is for the future for emergencies, the city building official officer is the one who will approve for emergencies. There was some discussion, and I suspect in this particular case, we were worried about a historic. That person would then consult with the historic preservation officer. But the decision on whether we approve it or not is the city building officer, which makes sense to me. I think that's how it is.
I don't recall that,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure.
So my question, since it's done and already approved, do we really need to do this?
Well, I've made everybody that's done that so far come back
back
for
to-
approval.
Okay.
And it's your prerogative if you
endorsing it.
approve it or if you
We're
don't.
endorsing.
Your rubber stamping.
So what happens if we say no?
then they would have to
Yeah.
Take it out.
take it out and bring it back to, whatever you
Yeah.
determine
If
is
this wasn't
appropriate.
appropriate or we didn't like it, we,
This is the back door, right? on the other side.
Right, right.
somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the replacement door on the back of 306 West Main.
Second.
Motion made by Kurt Chakowski, seconded by Linda Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. F, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on board member Trexler's resignation.
Give me say no.
I received a letter from her, or an email, and just with her 2 children now, she's got her hands full, and
She was looking forward to coming back. She said she was going to take the break.
it always changes. She told me she was coming back to work the first time too, and that didn't last
Yeah.
long.
That's right.
Can we note with reluctance, but with great appreciation for her work on the board, and say thank you very much and good luck in the future?
We could.
Say thanks a lot, Melanie.
Which does,
With mixed messages from the board.
I'm just not ready to let go.
which does beg the question, though.
Yes.
It's her replacement.
So, like on my Main Street board, I typically ask for input, and I'm asking you for that unofficially, I guess, because the council is the ultimate authority and will make an appointment. There are some applications in, but I would say if you have a recommendation or know somebody that would be good, that you need to get them to put an application in. And otherwise I didn't have them on the council agenda before you had accepted the resignation. So I will need to get a new applicant.
How soon do you, is there
In 2 weeks is the board meeting, the council meeting from last night, and I could get it on there. I would need a reason to wait to do it, but it's not urgent that, that we have 5 members, but it's also not looked upon awesome that,
You want that odd number, yeah.
I've asked a couple of people and one declined and one said they would seriously consider it. So-
Okay.
Both mine said no. You're a better seller than I am.
So we would need to have that application in, I think, next couple of days,
Oh, really? Okay.
in order for me to, or at least an intent, because I have to get it in the system, and then it has to be posted and all that before the council meeting.
So do we take a vote then on her
It says take action.
resignation, take
I
action?
think we have to accept it, don't we?
Well, the council approves it, we can only elect to recommend it the next one, because it won't be decided until the next city council meeting, in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, well, then we won't meet before then.
Okay.
So I would say you would accept the resignation.
Right.
Resignation.
I move to accept the resignation of Melanie Trexler from the Historic Preservation Board.
Yes,
She did.
Now,
I second,
okay.
reluctantly.
Linda Anderson and Kurt. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? No. Staff updates.
Okay. So we'll start with, there's some graphics, window graphics at 214 West Main that I approved for Uniquely Posh, and that's what they look like. They're on the new building, and so, they'll be on the door and the window. And, go ahead. Oh, okay. And Victory Music. Was this for Victory Music or was this, okay. It doesn't look right on here, but you'll see the Victory Music and Ronnie Davis Accounting are right next to each other on the 100 block. If you see the little area that's not painted at the bottom, that's where bricks were, and the bricks were painted, but they got removed during construction, and they've asked to be able to paint it. We are responsible for that. So we were going to paint it. Victory Music asked if he could change the color to match the color next door of his sister's building. And so as long as y'all don't have any problem with that, I can approve that. And then I had another question that,
I'm sorry, you need a motion on that?
no.
Okay.
I had another question that come up on, we discussed it in the design guidelines, and it was on window filming. And the consultant indicated that that's not appropriate. And I don't know how you will feel on it. Take Mom Queen Boutique, for instance. Her clothes were getting damaged. So I don't know if you want to totally exclude that or if you want to give, as long as it's not over a certain tint. I know that we've had that discussion before, and there's almost a clear tint that can be used that, seems...
Like Stafford Place had, we approved putting it on there, if I remember.
Yes. So I needed a little bit of feedback on that.
Well, you read the social media post on that, and his reasoning for it was to have privacy for his.
That's too dark, in my
And
opinion.
and I'm thinking, how is that private when, you can still, the tent, you can still see in. You'd have to put curtains or drapes up for privacy for the people inside there, so.
So I
I'm not
think
sure
we
about
need to,
that argument.
we need to factor into the conversation whether we allow it or not. So I think Paul Jones put tinted window glass on a storefront that they owned, and on down the road, you need to be able to see in for retail. You change businesses, and for retail windows, you need to be able to see in for the merchandise. So I don't think changing, to that extent where you can't see in is a good idea. And that's definitely the idea of the consultant recommending against it. I just don't know if you want to totally say that they can't, because that does present issues.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I think, first of all, again, our charter to keep the historic district looking historic, but weighing in with a store owner and damaging their merchandise, and remembering that there's going to be other store owners in the future in the same spot. I think the tinting of the window that is clear, that cuts the UV and is low emis, whatever that word is, works. I know we don't have it, I don't remember it in the design guidelines. Is it?
I do.
Okay.
I remember specifically because I was,
This point.
yeah.
Yeah. To me, my opinion is I think if it's clear, but cuts the UV and the harmful thing, then it's okay, you can see in. And it looks good, it looks like it's from the historic district. To me, it makes sense. I'm not a fan of dark tinted windows or dark tinting.
Right. Is that the, okay.
You like cars, though, state 32% or less.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Unless you want a ticket.
What's legal, that's right.
Yeah, I can't even see the people in the cars.
Yeah,
So.
We still want windows that are translucent.
And with that intent and that direction, I can get that in the design guidelines. And in going through the design guidelines, I've got the copies. It's getting really near lunch, and so I can just, well, it's past lunch. And so I can review.
They think so too.
Yeah, they're getting very hangry over there.
I can review the highlights of it. Again, I would like to send you the, that's distracting. I would like to send you the changes, the edited version. I got it Friday. I read through it a while ago. Same with the ordinance. We also walked through that and discussed certain points. I could try to point those out to you in an email, but I want you to read through that to see if you see anything that you're uncomfortable with, that is not clear. So we've kind of whittled it down each time, and I think we're getting close, but I want to just make sure that it's as it needs to be and understandable to you, because that's what you're going to have to operate off of. And the new member is actually going to have a head start, because
They'll be in place.
they'll start from scratch.
Here's what I'll offer to you. If you want, having sat through that marathon, I'll be more than glad to take the new one, because the other ones you got changes on changes on changes, and I got lost. I'll be glad to summarize it and send it to you, because I know you've got so many other hats. And I'm just,
Yeah, we don't want to
I'm
delay
just
it
sitting
anymore.
around with my leg up right now.
That'd be great, thank you.
Just real briefly, because I know lunch. I have a hard time with window tint, just for this reason. And, again, each building is individual, and each business has their own reason for doing what they need to do, and whether it's for privacy or protection of clothing or whatever. And we briefly touched on Stones of the Heart, 420. Is that considered window tint? Because you can't see in that store at all. You know what I'm talking about? So what is that considered? And we didn't.
No, we didn't consider it.
So-
I've not examined it to see what all's a factor in that. If they put something on the outside of the window, if they put something on the interior of the window, if they put something in front of the window, I've not looked at that to see.
Because I don't know if their reasoning was because they wanted privacy in their store, or the sun, or they were trying to, maybe make it their brand or something with what their business is. But no, things like that, tint can always be removed for the next
Right.
business. So,
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that one
so
to find out.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, we've got one more. 214 North Rusk. Thank you. Okay, so this one came to me, and I was, again, I just put it on here. It's not for you to act upon, but you can express if you have any issues with it. So,
Is this the one with the guy that got upset because,
Painted building.
yeah, painted the building and,
yeah. But he's got a tenant now, and I think it's a doctor. And she is, this is her application.
or holistic, obviously.
Yeah. So you can share with me if you have any concerns. And,
Put the shutters back up.
pardon?
That's a joke.
Put the shutters back.
Oh, you were making a joke. Yeah, I think that we're ready for the design guidelines and the ordinance, but I would like for you to look over them. I've tried to keep track of everything, because I like to read over them, but I want to know the changes that were made so I can, yeah, that makes sense as I go along. So we've got all that. If you we'll be able to give you what you want to the extent.
I would applaud you on that effort. This is the second one that her group has done in working with the downtown Denison folks too. So
Good job, thank you. Is that it?
the only thing I would note for those people who are residents of Denison, this is the last day for early voting. If you haven't voted yet, Grant, this is a citywide council person that's going to really be important for the future of Denison, so go vote.
Go vote.
Indeed,
Motion,
thank you.
motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
If I could see the time.
126.
1:26. Thank you.